I am Alen Stellian, the Midlife Empowerment Coach and the founder of the Thrive membership for women 40 and over. And today I am thrilled to introduce Wendy S. Delmater. Wendy is the author of Better Dating Through Engineering, which describes her reaction and experiences dating at the age of 50 after being single for 25 years. She did not know the brave new world of online dating, but she applied what she knew of safety management and quality assurance and came up with an easy-to-use system to sort the gems from the jerks. So we all need that sorting system. Her friends thought it was so unique and innovative that she was encouraged to write a book and share her methods. And since then, she has helped many women of a certain age find new love and happiness. Due to popular demand, Wendy has also written Better Dating Through Engineering for Men and is currently working on, again, due to popular demand, Better Dating Through Engineering, the marrying kind for younger people. Some of her other books are Confessions of a Female Safety Engineer, about being a trailblazer in a male-dominated field, and Writing the Entertaining Story, her how-to book for authors. She has a BS in Safety Management from Mercy College. She's a professional member emeritus of the American Society of Safety Engineers and an affiliate member of SFWA, the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America. Wow. That is a lot of accomplishment, Wendy. Welcome. I have been so looking forward to our conversation.
Hello, it's nice to talk to you and to anybody who's out there. I have so much to share and I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. All right. So let's get started. I mean, dating, engineering, give us the picture here, because I'm not quite sure people would automatically put those two together. So what brings those together for you?
Well, I have to admit it was kind of outside the box, but I said, is there any part of my life where I learned something in the 25 years I've been out of the dating field to apply? I tried to transfer my expertise in one area to another area. And surprisingly enough, it worked, because in the quality assurance process, you're looking to see continuous improvement. You want to hone your goals. You want to get more of what you're looking for. For crying out loud, if dating is not what that's about, I don't know what is.
True. That's a very good point. Very good point. So tell us how you got started with this idea, because you had been single for a very long time. And
Right.
What happened? You were like ready to date, or had you been dating for a while and kind of like not really?
Here's what happened. My ex abandoned me when my kids were 3, 5, and 6. No one wanted to marry someone with another man's 3 children unless I was also going to take care of their brood of 4 or more and be even more tied down and in worse shape if that one left.
Mm-hmm.
So I just decided I was not even going to consider dating until my children were grown and I was what they call unencumbered, which means it's just me. I don't have any kids. I'm trailing behind me. And during that time, I decided that I would make myself the best I could be, not just because I was trying to make myself acceptable to another human being as a mate. I did it because I didn't want to waste my life. I enjoyed the work that I did in safety engineering. I enjoyed my hobby that turned into a career, writing and editing science fiction and fantasy, which I went to after I retired from that. But I really did not date until I turned 50, from when I had been dating to marry the man that eventually left me with the kids.
That was like a long span. And
I was married to him for 10 years and then I was single for 25.
Right.
So I was really out of the dating pool for
you
35 years.
Yes. And the world had changed quite a bit in that time span in terms of the dating world, right?
It was all like this online, and it was all, I describe it in the book. I will actually give you the title. Imagine my surprise. And I discovered, let's see, for the most part, it was a jaded meat market full of brazen requests for casual sex and intimacy. intimacy. Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. Can I read the description
Yes.
of what I found? Here's the
Yes.
potential heterosexual dating pool I found. And remember, it can be hard to tell which category they're in first. Men who were never married because there was something wrong with them, like mental or physical illness or terminal shyness, things like that. Players or cads, some of whom were smooth operators. Men who were married and trying to cheat and lying about it. Men who were married and trying to cheat and were honest about it. Widowed men, some of whom could not bring themselves to love again after the pain of their wife's death. And divorced men, some of whom were so bitter as to defy description. And then they lied about who they were on top of that.
Wow.
So I needed a way, as you quoted, to separate the gems from the jerks. And so I decided on a quality assurance process because I didn't know what else to do.
So is the idea to vet these men before even having a date with them?
To some extent. Of course, like I said, they lie. So they say they're not married when they're married. They say that it's okay not to have sex on the first date, and then they pressure you to get in the back seat. Yeah, I'm in my 50s, and they're like, it'll be fun. And I'm like, are you out of your mind?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
not for me.
It's not, I'm not saying that isn't right for some people.
Right.
But I kept telling them, I'm looking for someone to spend the rest of my life with. I didn't necessarily use the word marriage, but that implied no casual sex, on top of me coming right out and saying no casual sex. But were they listening? 9 times out of 10, no.
Yeah. So here you are, and it sounds like the men you described who were not great dating material, these are men you had the experience in starting to date with meeting some of them, or had you been warned and you were like, no, I'm not doing this?
I really was congruent with my goals. I did something which sex educators call having a second virginity. I literally walked away from it and got out of the habit that you get into when you're married of having sex. I just got out of the habit.
Yeah.
I said, I am not looking for this. Until then, I don't give myself permission to think about it. And I worked on that until I was comfortable in that sort of pre-dating, I'm not available mode.
Mm-hmm.
I was mocked for it. And on construction sites where I worked, they said, what, are you a lesbian? Because obviously, if I wasn't interested in them.
Yes, you must be. Yes.
So it just, when I decided to date, I had to look at what was available. What I did, again, this is the engineering part, but I did the hard work so the people that buy my book don't have to, is I did a cost-benefit analysis on where to go to look for dates.
So explain what a cost-benefit analysis is for the non-business people among us.
You just sit there and say, is it worth the effort? Is it worth the time? Is it worth the money? Do you get what you're paying for? Mm-hmm. And with a lot of these online dating places, you might not be getting what you're paying for. Now, some of the well-known ones like Match.com or why is it I have so much trouble remembering eHarmony, but I do.
Okay.
They are right up front. They won't, eHarmony, if you're separated, they won't let you put yourself up on there with a profile. And a lot of people I know that worked for. eHarmony is expensive though. And most of the people it worked for stuck with it for about 2 years.
So eHarmony is paid, because I think I've not been on these, but like
eHarmony is not free.
It's free, right? So some are free and some are paid.
Right, I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
You put up a profile and you pay a monthly fee for eHarmony.
Gotcha.
You also pay a smaller monthly fee for places like Match.com because they do the sorting for you. There are 2 basic business models. One of them, they do the sorting for you, so it's more money but less time. And the other one, you do the sorting and it's less money and more time. And again, they follow a business model. Most of the ones where you have to do your own sorting are dishonest, in my opinion. And let me explain why. Mm-hmm. The dishonesty comes in the fact that they ask you to put up a free profile, and then they'll send you whatever they call a wink or a nudge or a nod or a hi or a smooch, who knows. this is their I'm interested from one of the guys
Okay.
to get you to sign up. And then when you sign up, nobody's interested. I would bet you a great deal of money that that wink or nod came from somebody in their office to get you to sign up so that they could get their fee.
So they're saying, they're kind of saying the ones you're, who are interested in you, let us sort, because we're going to find the people who are really the gems.
Places like eHarmony and Match.com will do the sorting for you. The places where you have to do the sorting yourself tend to be dishonest, in my opinion, because in my experience, and I was out there dating for 3 solid years, nobody's ever interested after somebody says they're interested. The reason they say they're interested is to get you to sign.
To get you to sign up. Yeah.
And then once you've signed with them, and I think it's an annual rather than a monthly or something, depends on the place. And they have new ones pop up all the time, but it's really a get rich quick scheme for the people putting up the websites. It's not a place to meet people.
Wow. I'm going to take a little break here to say that Janine Bryant has joined us, and she says, I have read Wendy's book. It is fantastic. She is in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us, Janine. Let us know if you've had any success in your dating through engineering in the comments. We'd love to hear. So, okay, so you're dating. So it took 3 years for you to find your match. And at what point along this 3-year span of your dating are you developing your process? Is that throughout, or had you?
Well, there were also totally free sites. Craigslist used to have a personals. It's not there anymore, thank God. It was still free, so I tried it. And the reason I say thank God is they shut it down because it was basically spreading STDs. It's
wow.
No, it's so bad.
Wow. Yeah.
The weirdos that I ran into on there were epic. But what I used was a free one that's called Oh yes, sweetheart. Okay, Cupid.
He's helping you out.
Okay, Cupid. You put up a profile, which I show you how to put in the book, and profile is ad copy. You're advertising yourself. And I actually read about 5 books by people in the advertising industry about how to write these things. It's what I do.
Right.
I love research. It's fun. And they say that when you're writing ad copy, what you have to say is, what is the benefit? So your ad is not, I want this and I want that. Your ad is, at the very least, these things are interesting to me. Are they interesting to you too? But at the most, it should be a list of what you can give the other person.
Oh, interesting.
It will make you stand out from the crowd, because most of them are self-centered. I mean, you look at the women's ads just to see what they're putting up there, and you go, holy mackerel, are these people serious? The guy has to be 6'3" and make at least this much money.
Right. So they're saying, here's what I need from you, as opposed to here's what I offer. Here's why I'm a great catch.
What's the benefit? Right. In my case, I was eventually able to say, once I did all the self-improvement, when I was out of the market, that I had a degree, I had a career, I was a published author, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you run into is guys kept saying this weird thing to me. They said, you sound like a real person. I said, what do you mean by that? Well, it turns out that all the hookers are no longer on the street corners. They're online pretending to be nice women who want to meet you.
Ah, wow.
And so one of the things I teach in the book is how not to come across as if you might be a hooker. I'm not making this up, because these sound like nice people.
Oh my
I know,
goodness,
it's mind-boggling.
I had no idea.
I didn't either. I had to ask, because you see, the thing is, when I got together with somebody, and by the way, when you're our age, you don't tell younger people that you're dating. You say you're meeting new people, because they assume a date automatically means sex and you're sleeping around and you're an absolute slut, if you put it that way. It's right. I found these things out the hard way, but I found them out. And no, that's where all the hookers are. It's so my winning ad copy on OkCupid that got my husband's attention started out with things that a hooker would never say. She cleans, she cooks, she can speed a watermelon seed further than you can. And no worrying if I was a real person after that.
Right. Yes, you are. Yeah, you're real. Wow. So, yeah, so tell us more how you and Brian connected. I mean, had he been dating for a long time too? And like, were you just like, whoa, who is this woman? So you stood out,
Well,
obviously.
there is a prime time period between when a guy who's interested in remarrying is either widowed or divorced and when he gets remarried. Because let's face it, at my age, I was looking for used with lots of tread as opposed to brand new. I was pretty
Right.
sure I wasn't going
Yes.
to get new.
Yeah.
So they will always pick someone new within 2 years.
Hmm.
Almost always within 2 years after they have had their breakup, split up, divorce, whatever you want to call it, or the woman died. And by the way, women who died of something horrible and lingering, the men may want to be lonely, but they just can't love again because they associate it with pain. So just be careful of that. But Brian was within that 2 year window, if you will. His ex had left approximately 2 years ago. His divorce had just gone through, and he was on OkCupid and I was on OkCupid, but I was working 80-hour weeks at the time. And he'd been looking online. I don't think he'd been on too much in the way of dates per se, because he was looking for people that fit some criteria. He was picky like I was picky. And one of the things I say in the book to do is to be picky, because you will meet your expectation. And if you don't expect much, you ain't going to get much. That's just how it works. So he found me online, turned around to his daughter, and he yelled to her, "Maggie, I have found the woman I am going to marry."
Oh,
Which
you're
I think is
kidding.
adorable. But she's like, "Yeah,
Wow.
sure, Dad."
Right, right.
Right. And then he didn't hear from me for 2 weeks because I was working 80-hour weeks and I didn't even check. Now, I'd been looking for 2.5 years. I'd had one serious relationship that didn't pan out, and a couple of people I dated steadily until I found out that they had hidden little problems. We should talk about
Hmm.
the hidden problems.
Oh, yeah. It's like they're not obviously upfront with them, but what kind of problems are we talking about?
um, well, there's health for one. When you get to be late middle age, and I was 45 and up, when you get to be there, bad habits
Mhm.
start to catch up with you. You have problems with overweight, you have problems with diabetes, heart disease, all kinds of problems. I remember dating one guy who sounded really good, but he was a diabetic and he's a tequila aficionado, and you're not supposed to drink when you're
Right,
diabetic, things like
right.
that.
Yeah.
Another one who was in disability, but I'll be fine. They literally almost called an ambulance for him. He got so sick at the restaurant when we had our date. Guys that say that their business is making money and you check and it's not. And guys who, one of them was a compulsive gambler.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um, just like I said, they lie. And of course,
Yeah.
the ones that are married, God have mercy, they're married. Oh no. I mean, the guy at the end of this nice date where I'm thinking, well, he might be okay. And he says, "Do you mind if I'm married?"
Oh my goodness.
And
Wow.
I'm like, "God, yeah, I mind." And I hate
Yeah.
finding out at the end of the day I said no before we even did this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh, so Janine has a great question for you. She's saying, "So Wendy, I have spent a little time with two men, very nice, who have both been divorced over 10 years and both ended communications with me abruptly. So she's asking, were they beyond the ideal window? Is that what you would surmise?"
not necessarily. I'm going to put a picture up. I'm going to reverse and show a picture. I have some
Yeah.
pictures set aside. I would like you to meet my girlfriend, who is share screen and click. She just got engaged to this fella.
Oh,
Okay. Obviously, neither of them are spring chickens. And he had been divorced for 10 years, but he had had several relationships that didn't work out because these people turned out to not be kind, polite too much like his ex. There's no other way to put it, really. So it can happen. And it's more likely to happen if you're a nice person and they've had to deal with bad people. But let's talk about what can make them unacceptable mates. And very often that's dysfunction of some sort.
Mm.
And I attack that in the book as well. I talk about alcoholism. I talk about mental illness. I talk about problems with debt. And I also talk about the fact that these men may not be over their exes yet.
Mm.
The 5 stages of grief, and how a person who's not ready to date will go out there and they're still so full of anger with their ex, or they're tied to them by child support payments, alimony, whatever. It's just, there are ways that a person may not be ready within that 2 years, but odds are probably not. And what I would recommend that Janine does is something I talk about in the book, and she says she's read it. Go read this section, Janine, where you do the check on them. If you have an email address from the guy, it's something or other at AOL.com or at gmail.com. That is very often their internet handle. And if you just search on that without the at, or even just search on the email address, you will very often find things that will be like the guy that said that he was free is at a function with his wife and they're both wearing rings. Okay.
Oh.
One guy I did that for was a college professor. I accepted a date. It sounded like fun. And then I did that, and he showed up at a site called the French Maids, which was full of men that were trying to get dominatrixes for free. And he was
Right.
dressed up as a French maid with a hairy chest in his outfit and everything. And I told him he was a little too exciting for me.
That's a nice way to put it.
Oh. But yeah, if you do that, you can also spend money on, and only do this if you're serious about the person. I've only done it a couple times, but there are things that employers do when they're about to hire someone, where they do a financial, like a credit check, and you can also do a criminal background check. And what's interesting about that is, in my husband's case, it proved that he was who he said he was. He'd been with the company he said he'd been with. He lived where he said he did, because a lot of the out-of-state guys, they're like a dog chasing a car. What would the dog do if it caught the car?
Right.
They're just kind of playing with you.
It's about the chase, not actually.
Right. Well, you want them to chase you. You don't want to chase them. So they're out of state. Probably not a good idea to go. I have an entire chapter here on dating out-of-state men. And it starts with a picture of a crash test dummy, because that's what I was. I was your intrepid crash test dummy, checking to see why this was maybe not such a good idea.
But don't you need to get the person's approval to do a background check on them?
A financial check?
Right, any kind of check. Do you don't typically need to have the person? Oh, you can do that. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
No, you can. You can.
Yeah.
And as I said, in my case with my Brian, it was very reassuring.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what are some things you find women say, this is my criteria, whatever, that you feel, you know what, maybe be a little more flexible on that? Like maybe,
Yes. Yes. You're talking about what I call deal breakers.
Right. Yes.
There are things you need and there are things you want. And I'm not saying wants are bad. Sometimes these needs might look like wants to other people. I can't stand guys with big lips. They could be white, black, purple. I don't like big lips.
Okay.
Huge turnoff. I just no, go away from me.
Yeah.
And some people can't stand dogs. And if the guy has a dog, forget it, we're done. Or cats, they're allergic. Okay. These are deal breakers. These are things that are important to you. Those are very, very, very important. And one of the things that you're doing a quality assurance process is that you write down what your goals are. And your goals can be, I'm looking for somebody who doesn't have big lips, who is, in my case, I was looking for financially solvent because my ex was, he was a walking black hole where money was concerned.
Yeah.
And I had managed to claw my way out of the debt he left me in and become financially solvent and in good shape. I didn't want to go through that again, so I was looking for that. These were deal breakers for me. And then there can be other things like Brian didn't want a woman who has blonde hair because his ex was blonde. He couldn't deal with it.
Right.
The smaller things that, it would be nice if this person liked the same kind of music that I do, but he doesn't have to. It would be nice if he was a writer like me, which he turned out to be, but he doesn't have to be. It would be nice if we had the same politics or religion, but it can be close. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. Those are not deal breakers. Those are still factors. And one of the things I teach the people in my book to do is when they can't decide about somebody, they have their list of deal breakers and they have their list of things that would be nice as well. And they can do a pro and con and see if he matches up, which takes a lot of the emotion out of it, because you may be physically attracted to a person that's wrong for you. And this will point it out without fail.
So your approach, it sounds like it's really grounded in, like, let's get the facts, let's do the research, let's not let emotion or, attraction kind of blind us to maybe there's some real red flags here.
Right. Although emotion's good. Emotion's great.
Emotion's good.
It's just, it can't be all.
Right. And now you got to show us the back of your book, because I love that. The chart that you've developed. I mean, this is so perfect. So
it's a spreadsheet. And basically here's what's going on in each of the categories. This is the person's email address. This is their age and location. I was looking for somebody within a certain number of miles, within a certain age frame. I was looking 45 to 55.
Okay.
And over here is, where did I put the ad? Was it my Craigslist ad? Was it on OkCupid? Was it eHarmony? Was it Match.com? And this is notes. And the red coded ones are people I didn't want to see, either based on what they emailed me or I'd seen them before and we'd had a bad date or something like that. And I caught a picture of the guy with his ring, that kind of thing.
Right.
The yellow ones were one of two things. Either too many people responded that week, and you have to date. If you want to meet somebody in midlife, it takes about 30 dates to meet somebody that you will be physically connecting with and have attraction to. Okay, if you're going to 30 dates before you meet somebody and you go on a date a month, 2.5 years to meet somebody, maybe.
Wow.
You do it once a week.
Yeah.
And it's much faster.
Yeah.
And even then you have to set up 2 or 3 dates every single weekend, because the dropout rate is something fierce.
Oh, people canceling.
You have no idea.
Wow.
One of the worst ones they do is, if they don't like your looks, they'll show up at the restaurant, call you on your phone, see who picks up, and if they don't like your looks, they ghost you. I'm not making this up.
Goodness.
So what you do is you only order something to drink and maybe a salad or an appetizer, give them 45 minutes and leave. Bring a book.
Wow.
Just accept the fact that this is going to happen. And also accept the fact that even if you're not a slim person, there was a nice poll of thousands of guys where they said, who has the ideal figure? And 20% of them chose Queen Latifah. So don't tell me they're all looking for the skinny minis. They're not.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not competing on looks anyhow. You're competing on other things. You're competing on the fact that you have maybe health benefits and the guy doesn't. And this would mean the difference between life and death at his age.
Wow. Yeah.
I teach you how to learn what your assets are, and they may not be what you think they are.
Right. Now
let's get to the green coded ones.
Yes,
those are
agreed.
The good ones.
That's the good one.
Only want to be meeting. Remember, you're meeting people, not dating, especially with the young people.
Meeting.
Call it that. But you're trying to get to know between 3 and 5 men at the same time.
Okay.
There's a reason for that. It's so you don't feel like you have to settle because there's no one else. You always
Right.
have options. You always have choices. There are always other fish in the sea. And
Now,
yeah,
I was going to ask, in terms of those green ones and the ones who are acceptable, I know it, what, what I've heard from a lot of my women friends who are dating after divorce is that guys are, you got to assume that a guy's going to be at least 10 years older than you who's looking at you. Have
Brian
you
is 6 years
found that?
younger than me. He's 6 years
I'm
younger
just,
because I didn't settle.
I don't know. You didn't settle, but I mean, isn't that something that is happening where like you got to expect that it's like the guys are all looking for younger women?
The ones that are only interested in one thing are, of course, interested in younger women that have a prettier package. But I dated a guy once, and by the way, this was somebody I did not click with. And what I did when I was dating these guys that I didn't have any physical attraction with, and they didn't have one with me, is I pumped them for what's going on from the male perspective. And that's where I learned about the pitfalls from the male perspective. I always have to pay for it, try to pick someplace cheaper to go, things like that.
Yeah.
And just my girlfriend, Sarah, I had lunch with Sarah in North Augusta on Sunday. She married a man that's 10 years younger than her, and she's 55. She married him 8 years ago. So she was within the age demographic for this book. It's a matter of finding a person who's looking what you're looking for. They're looking for the same things.
Yeah.
And so it's expand your thinking. You're not competing based on how much Botox you can get into your face and how much fat you can get sucked out of your middle. You're competing on the fact that you are interesting. You have a history. You're intelligent. You're fun. And you're going to hopefully bring peace and order into a man's life that needs a woman's touch.
And it sounds to me like you're in a much more powerful position if you love yourself, if you know that you are a catch, if you approach, this process as somebody who is, anybody would be
I didn't
lucky to
approach
be
it that
with.
way. I approached it as, oh my God, I'm so scared. But what I did was I journaled. And I had a support group online. And the journal was where I poured out all my angst rather than pouring it on my dates, because they did not need this. It would scare them off.
Right.
You have to like yourself. You have to be the best you can be. If the best you can be is a size 20, so be it. It's still the best you can be.
Right.
There will always be critics. There will always be people that don't like you, that don't appreciate who you are. They are not your target audience.
Right.
That's something I learned as a writer and editor. Your target audience, if you write science fiction and somebody says, hey, I don't like science fiction, you're never going to get them to buy your book.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if this person doesn't like whatever your demographic might be, then they're not your target audience. And you can just say, fine, I'm not interested in you either. And obviously the problem is not that there's something wrong with you. It's that, again, we keep coming back to we're looking for different things.
Yeah. And it sounds like you've had quite a bit of success, some success stories coming out of people using your book, your concept.
Yeah. It's kind of exciting. I think the most exciting thing was that just recently they were doing a seminar in Europe, and an English woman who was going to this seminar in Holland was asking for permission to use my book in her presentation.
Wow.
Because people are clamoring for this. What's happening is a lot of first marriages aren't working out for whatever reason. I personally think it's all Walt Disney's fault because he expects us to want a prince. And when the guy doesn't turn out to be a prince, we're like, it's all your fault. Or I don't know.
Right.
I just know that we walked into it with different expectations than reality. And people our age have a wonderful grounding in reality. I married Brian 3.5 months after I met him.
And when was this? How long have you been together?
It'll be 14 years in June.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
I know. June wedding.
Amazing.
It was nice. My girlfriend, I'm not going to name names here. One of my girlfriends knew this person for 2 months. Another one knew him for 3, because at our age, girlfriend, we know what we want.
Yeah. When the person's the right one. Yeah.
And it's so funny because I made out this list of what I wanted. And by the way, my husband did too. We joke about it that we each met the specs, so we went to contract.
Yeah.
Because we were very fact-based about this.
Yep.
I'm not saying love is a horrible thing. I'm saying it's the most wonderful thing in the world. I'm saying that love based on something that where you just are not compatible with the person is worse than none at all.
Yeah.
You're better off being happy and single than you are marrying somebody just to not be alone.
Yeah. No, they're wonderful. Wow. I love all this. I mean, there obviously we could go on, but I want people to be enticed and actually buy your book because
there's so much more. There is so much
exactly.
more.
There's just so these are just a few of the gems, ladies, that you're going to get from Wendy's book. So exciting. And I'm going to add Wendy's book, the link to her book, as well as a link to her website in the comments. And I think it's just been packed with value and I so appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I love this topic and I love helping people find the loves of their lives.
I know. We all want to have a great outcome like you did. It's just so, you guys didn't see this, but Brian was actually helping Wendy beforehand, kind of getting set up and everything. It was so sweet.
It's work. I can't pretend it isn't work. I spent between 10 and 15 hours every single day, except for when I took dating breaks.
Oh, look at that.
But there you go. It was definitely worth it.
Love that photo. That's so sweet. Well, thank you, Wendy. And thanks everybody for joining us today. Don't forget to check out the links I'll be adding in the comments. Don't forget to, and please watch for more of these in the next weeks. Until then, be well and stay safe, everybody. Bye.